I'm Chris with Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library, and I'm joined this evening by Jasmine, who also works for the library. And we have Kelsey. Hey, and we have Kelsey as well, who is the museum outreach educator for the Florida Holocaust Museum. We're very happy to have you with us this evening. May is Jewish American Heritage Month as well, so this is part of our way to celebrate and recognize the importance of those great citizens that we have. Before we get started, Jasmine is going to do a book shout out.
Yes, I am. So our book shout out for today is Quest for Eternal Sunshine by Mendek, Rubin, and his daughter, Myra Goodman. It's an excellent book about a Holocaust survivor, and it's co-written with his daughter. After he passed away, she found this manuscript that he had about his life before, during, and after his experience with the Holocaust. It's a very beautiful story, and it's available on one of our digital resources, Hoopla, in ebook format. Hoopla is a great resource that we have through your membership of the library. You have access to that. It has ebooks, audiobooks, even movies and television shows if you're interested in that. And you can get to that through our website, hcplc.org/ebooks.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay, I'm going to give Kelsey screen control now.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here with me. And thank you, Chris and Jasmine, so much, and to the Hillsborough County Library System for inviting me here to speak with you about the Florida Holocaust Museum. If you're not familiar with the Florida Holocaust Museum, we're located downtown St. Petersburg. So we're on 5th Street South, 55 5th Street South, and we've been there at that location for, I don't know if my math is correct, but it's been around 23, 24 years. We were originally on Madeira Beach when we were founded. We were actually founded by 2 Holocaust survivors, Walter Lowenberg and his wife, Edie Lowenberg. Their daughter, Sandy, still serves as advisory on our board and is very involved with the museum, but really the reason why I am able to sit here in front of you and talk to you is because of the incredible work that Walter and Edie did to bring the Florida Holocaust Museum here to St. Petersburg. And so it's a really wonderful legacy that we have and that we try to live out in our community as and across the state of Florida. I'll talk a little bit more about mostly the education department as it applies to what I do, but we are a state museum, and we're one of only 3 accredited Holocaust museums in the entire United States, along with one in Texas and the National Museum up in Washington, D.C. So that's a very big responsibility for us, and we take that very seriously as we provide the state of Florida with quality Holocaust and human rights education. And so I wanted to share with you really quickly our mission statement. It's a 2-part mission statement. So within everything that we do, we sort of gear ourselves towards that mission statement, and always asking ourselves, is what we're doing serving that mission statement? And our mission statement is that we honor the 6 million victims of the Holocaust, innocent Jewish men, women, and children who were persecuted, murdered, and died during the Holocaust. And the other aspect of that is to teach about the Holocaust and to teach the worth and dignity of all human life to everyone, people of any race, religion, ethnicity, sexuality. You know, it's make sure that our mission statement is very diverse and that we include everyone in it, in our educational wing of that mission statement. And we do that in a couple of different ways. And so I'll run through my slideshow with you to kind of give you an idea of some of the ways that, especially in the education department, we try to live out that mission statement. And I want to make sure I stay on time so that you can ask your questions also. So in Florida, we are one of the few states in the United States that actually has a Holocaust education mandate, meaning that the Holocaust is required to be taught in public schools. And it's really amazing. And recently the mandate was reworked a bit to also include African American history and civil human rights history as well, and to give a little bit more emphasis on anti-Semitism as well too. So we're not just teaching about the Holocaust, but we're also teaching about, you know, part of how the Holocaust was able to happen, which is through information and education about anti-Semitism. And so as the museum, we're a service provider. We're contracted by the Florida Department of Education, and we invite instructors to use the following resources to fulfill their mandate requirements. And so I'll give you a brief overview of some of these resources. If I can go, okay, there we go. The first big one is our teaching trunks, and this is a really unique resource that we have here at our museum. There are these massive trunks, and they are filled with literature, reference material, posters, videos, and all of these things are age and grade appropriate. So we have these trunks that range from first grade all the way to high school. And just recently we updated our middle school teaching trunk to incorporate more information outside of just Holocaust literature. So we've recently included civil rights literature, Native American literature, and Japanese American literature from internment. And so we tried really hard with that trunk to expand the content in it so that we can really reach students with you know, talking about the Holocaust, talking about the importance of human rights issues, and showing them that the lessons that we learned from the Holocaust, this empathy that we build by listening to survivors and by hearing their stories, and then the lessons we learned by understanding how hatred and prejudice and racism and, you know, othering people can lead to these catastrophic events, and that's not something that has only happened during the Holocaust. It's something that continues to happen in our world, and we want to use our resources to help students understand how they can be better global citizens in our society. And so the teaching trunks, through the teaching trunk curriculum, that's one of the places that we really focus in on those aspects. We also have a program called Speak Up, Speak Now. This is a 3 to 6 week program where students participate in lessons and activities pertaining to Holocaust history, literature, and art led by museum educators. Prior to the pandemic, I would go into schools and work with students directly for 3 to 6 weeks and kind of do a little classroom takeover with them. One of the schools that we work with most notably is down in Sarasota, the Sarasota School of Arts and Sciences. They invite us in every year, and we do a lot of programming around the book Night, which their English language arts teacher reads with the 8th grade class every year. And so we kind of structure our Speak Up, Speak Now program around that book, that memoir specifically. But we've done programming for Speak Up, Speak Now from 5th grade all the way to 8th grade. It's primarily a middle school resource, but we do extend it into high school as well. But we've done programs, you know, surrounding things like liberation, and especially looking at African American liberators, like a man named Leon Bass, who liberated Buchenwald and then, you know, fought in the civil rights movement for African American rights. So, you know, making those connections again and showing students that, you know, human rights is a global issue, and, you know, we can learn those things through Holocaust history. We also have we're very lucky in this, we have a very vibrant speakers bureau. We still have survivors who speak regularly for our museum and who took the pandemic and speaking during the pandemic to students and to schools and things like that very much in stride. I have never seen a group of people just jump into learning Zoom and learning these different online platforms as much as some of our survivors did, because they're so passionate about making sure that their stories and the stories of their loved ones and their families are heard. And it's such an enriching experience for students to be able to speak with survivors, especially because really we're seeing the last generation of students who are going to be able to have survivors have that kind of conversation with survivors. Unfortunately, they won't be with us very much longer. So it was really amazing to see them sort of grab onto this and still want to participate in this way and be willing to share their stories in this way. And we also have a lot of second generation speakers, so 2G speakers, children of survivors who come in and tell their parents' story and tell their family story and keep that memory alive and keep that remembrance alive for our students. And we have done in the past, we're still closed right now for tours. We're open to the public Wednesdays through, Thursday through Sunday. But we are still doing, but we are not doing tours or group tours or student tours. However, the way that we shifted this and what was really remarkable about, I commend the rest of the staff at the museum for this so much. What was really remarkable is the way that we sort of, when the pandemic hit and we shut down and we knew that we were no longer going to be able to do all of these things that we have historically done in person anymore, we really shifted gears and tried to move as much as we could content-wise online so that we could still be a viable resource for teachers across the state of Florida. We didn't want them to be without these resources for, what ended up being a whole year and then some. So our student tours have turned into our virtual tour, which is up and running on our website. If you go to our website and go into the Learn tab, you'll see it's one of the first tabs for our virtual tour. And we were offering our virtual tour to students over Zoom, and docents were leading the tours. So that's another shout out that I have to give is to our docents who really took to this technology shift as well and just jumped into learning about how to give these tours online, how to make them engaging, how to make sure students were learning from them. And we continue to do docent-led virtual tours, and we'll likely do that at least early into next school year as well. We're obviously all watching numbers and monitoring things just like everyone else is. And so we want to make sure that when we do bring students back into our building, it's in the safest and most responsible way possible so that everyone can have the experience that they need to have when they're in our museum without worrying about, if they're not safe. So we're being very cautious about that right now, which we have been throughout the pandemic, and I think has really served us well. So that's the end of my PowerPoint presentation, but let me make sure that I can stop sharing my screen and I'll come back on and chat with y'all. Yeah, so, oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, it's fine. I was just going to come back on, but yeah, I'll turn my camera off. If you're going to continue, we'll turn our.
I was just going to say, yeah, we, to go back, we really made like a really fast shift, I think, into the virtual world, which I think everyone has, and seeing this programming happening, obviously the library has had to do similar things as well. So it's taught us a lot, and we are constantly innovating and trying to find that really happy medium between, when we finally start having people back into the museum again, but how can we also utilize these huge strides that we've taken to put information out there online, resources that are available and more accessible because they're online for school districts that aren't necessarily able to come and visit us in person. And so that's sort of where the museum is right now and where we hope to continue growing.
Wow, that is a lot. Yeah, you think about closing your doors or having to because of certain situations, but there's still so much that you're doing. And all the educational resources and just your work in that area alone is very impressive. Thank you for sharing that with us. now is the time for questions. So again, I'll let our audience know if you want to post some questions in the question section, feel free to do that. And if you're on a phone or tablet, you may have to open the attendees section to get to that. But we do have some questions. Let me go ahead and open this here. All right, so someone wants to know, I know you mentioned the founders of the museum, but how did the museum come to be established in St. Petersburg?
So that's really because Walter and Edie had found themselves here in Florida through their businesses and things like that. They had lived here for an extended period of time and realized that there was not really a place that was memorializing the Holocaust. And, they obviously being survivors and, having lost family in the Holocaust, felt very obligated to do something like that for the city of St. Petersburg, and to have a place where survivors across Florida could also come, and because a lot of survivors ended up settling in Florida. I don't know if people realize there are a lot of Holocaust survivors still in the state of Florida. We have, like I said, a very vibrant speakers bureau, and that's due to the fact that survivors kind of moved here in droves, just like, Florida is a state of, older retirees at times, and people come here to, settle at that age and things like that. And so survivors were no different. And, they really wanted a place where that could exist. And they were also really focused on the educational aspect too. And that lives on through, like I said, Sandy Mermelstein is their daughter, and she is very dedicated to all of these aspects of the museum as well, and to continuing her parents' legacy and making sure that the Holocaust is not forgotten, and that we are continuing to learn and grow through education and historical learning.
Right. Great, thank you. All right, someone's asking about the teaching trunks. They sound like a fantastic resource for teachers. What is the wait time to get a first grade teaching trunk? Sorry.
The turnaround time is pretty quick, actually. It really just depends on what we have in our stock, because we have, a set amount of them, but we usually don't have all of them out at one time. So I would say if you're looking to get a teaching trunk, visit our website, the same Learn tab that I mentioned before. There's a spot that says for educators, and that's where you're going to find all of the things really that I just talked about. And teaching trunks is one of those first ones. You click that, you fill out a request form, and I'd say we could get it to you within, we'd like to have like a 2-week cushion, basically. That always feels comfortable for us, to make sure that we can, inventory the trunk, make sure it's good, ready to go, and give it time in case something happens in transit or something, so that you get it when you need it. So I'd say about 2 weeks would be the perfect sweet spot, but feel free to request them months in advance. We have a calendar, we'll put you on the calendar, and you'll get your trunk.
Wonderful. All right. Let's see. Okay. Someone's asking about, I know you have limited hours and there's no tours, but they're asking about what you know as far as the plans for reopening and maybe tours down the road.
Sure. So right now we're doing time ticketing. So we're trying to limit capacity for within the museum. Our museum space, if you've ever been there, is a bit small. So it's not very easy to socially distance in, and it follows a specific flow because it's a historical museum. So you kind of want to go in a chronological order. But down the road, I mean, we are looking at September possibly for maybe starting to try to do tours again. But I think that's all going to depend on where we stand in September. So we're very situational right now. We're not going to, do anything prematurely if the numbers aren't showing that it's safe for us to do something.
Well, that's appreciated. Yeah, being a space for learning similar to, we share in your caution there. Yeah, you want to make sure it's a safe place before you, yeah. So here's a couple questions about how you operate during normal times. Someone's asking, how many people visit annually? Do you know offhand, like a rough number?
Really good question. I feel like if I
during
gave
normal,
it would be wrong, and I don't want to do that.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, that's
I don't
okay.
wanna, yeah, I don't want to give a wrong number, but that's I don't know it off the top of my head. I will say this, we have school tours take up a lot in like normal times, take up a lot of our visitation. We have sometimes multiple school tours a day. And they can will accommodate up in normal times we would accommodate up to 100 students at a time. So if you multiply that by however many days in a school year, there's usually
Right.
not a day that goes by in the school year, really, save for like the first couple of weeks and the last couple of weeks. There's really usually not a day that goes by that we don't have some sort of school tour in the building. And we're obviously really missing that as well. We like seeing people in the museum. We like having people, especially students in the museum, and our docents and all of those kinds of things. So we're eager. We want to be open. So hopefully it would all happen
Sure.
soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and this also, I guess, relates to how you would operate in normal times. Once things do open up, will people be able to apply or look into volunteer or docent opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So our docent program and our volunteer program are a little bit different in that our
Okay.
docent program, it's kind of extensive due to the nature of the history. We have an 8-week docent class that you have to take, and that's done every 2 years. So we do a new class every 2 years because it is so extensive. And we just want to make sure that everyone is equipped with the knowledge that they need in order to give the tour a historically accurate and appropriate and age appropriate tour as well, because we start allowing students to come into the museum, or we, not allowing, that's the wrong word. We recommend that students don't start coming to the museum until they're in 5th grade, because that's sort of when we start introducing concepts of the Holocaust in the class, or we recommend that's when you start introducing concepts in the classroom. And so all these tours are different depending on age and what you can share and how you approach it. And so training docents on how to do that is incredibly important. So docenting is a little different, but volunteering, on the other hand, we're always looking for volunteers. We love when people come in and volunteer, and there are different ways that you can volunteer in different departments and things like that. So yeah, please feel free to if you're interested in volunteering for us, please feel free to reach out, and we will get back to you about how you can put some volunteer hours in at the Holocaust Museum.
Excellent. Thank you. Someone wants to know, I know you mentioned that you're one of only 3 accredited Holocaust museums in the United States. Is there any connection to the United States Holocaust Memorial and Museum in DC or any of the other accredited museums in the country?
Sure. Yeah. We're not directly connected to them. We are our own entity, but we
Right.
partner with them very often, and especially with DC, who my boss lovingly calls kind of the mothership for us, where we take a lot of our cues from what's going on in DC and how they are talking about things, and the resources that are coming out of there. We're actually working with them for a teacher training that will happen in the fall. So we partner with them a lot, but we also partner with museums like the USC Shoah Foundation, or institutions like the USC Shoah Foundation, Yad Vashem, which is in Israel, is the museum in Israel. We have partnerships with them. We have partnerships with Holocaust educational facilities in Florida as well. There's a task force for the Holocaust and a commission for for Holocaust education, and all of these facilities sit on this task force and come together and talk about the standards and the mandates and things like that. So we're very interconnected with a lot of different places across the country, and we've had partnerships ongoing for a very long time. But yeah, that's the really great thing I think about this community of museums. We're constantly looking for ways where we can partner with other museums and other educational institutions that we're sharing, the most updated and well-rounded resources that we possibly can.
Nice. So we have one last question here. Someone is asking about any special exhibits or events that are coming up that you're able to share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. So our exhibitions are about to change, actually. We haven't announced our exhibitions for the summer yet, but before they close, you should definitely get down to the museum and see the Arthur Schick exhibition, which not a lot of people know, but we are also an art museum. So we collect contemporary responses, like art responses to the Holocaust and art from the time period as well. And Arthur Schick is an artist that has worked in that mostly, I believe it's mostly in oil painting and things like that. I think that's his medium mostly. But we have a lot of his work on display right now on our second floor of the museum, and that'll come down on June 30th, as well as our Anne Frank exhibition, which was a virtual reality exhibition where you could have gone through the annex in the the secret annex. But obviously with COVID, virtual reality is not a sanitary thing to do right now. So the exhibition part of that is still up, and also we always have exhibitions on our third floor. Right now we have an exhibition about Nuremberg that's going on that'll also be up till the 30th. And then if you go outside on our outside of our museum right now, we have a Samuel Bach exhibition that we put up when the museum was completely shut down. We did this like outdoor like panel exhibition that's like can withstand the elements basically, so that people, if you were just walking down the street or something, you could still kind of experience the museum in that way. So I don't know if we have any, I don't know personally if we have any plans on taking that down. I don't think we do, because it's really nice, and you see people just walking by and they're like, oh, there's an exhibition outside of this museum. That's amazing. And they'll go and look at it and things like that. So that kind of stuff has been really cool. But yeah, definitely go and see the Arthur Schick exhibition if you get the chance. It's, I mean, it's beautiful. And then also the bottom exhibition never changes. That's our permanent exhibition. Sorry, I'm losing my words. That's our permanent exhibition, and it's a chronological historical account of the Holocaust. So those are always there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation and answering our questions. You know, it's really makes sense to, you know, the importance of the educational aspects of your work, because you know, the further we'll get from the historical event, the more important it is to impress upon people why they should learn about this. So
yeah,
we really
absolutely.
appreciate
our goal, just to reiterate, is always about, you know, making sure that we honor the victims of the Holocaust and build empathy in, you know, younger generations to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again. So that when we say never again, we mean never again.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, so we're going to bring up our last slide here. One second. And Kelsey is going to share some information with you all.
Oh, I'm sharing this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jasmine. I apologize. I was looking at my control panel and I saw your name and I said it out loud. I'm so sorry. You shared plenty of information with us, Kelsey. So it's Jasmine's turn.
All right. So if you want to get in touch, the number is on the screen right there for the library. And any upcoming events that we have going on, like this wonderful one that Kelsey just did, you can check our library schedule on our website there, hcplc.org/events. We have a lot of things coming up, especially for the summertime, so please see that page. If you want to learn more about the Florida Holocaust Museum, the website is right there as well, flholocaustmuseum.org. And we thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you, Jasmine. And thank you everyone in attendance. Have a great evening, and we'll see you all very soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.